All right, hell yeah. Before we get to the cardboard raft build for tonight, we're going to be working on our cockpit. And so, hell yeah, this is my boat, and what we're going to show is the dimensions. So let's get right into it. All right, so this is probably the biggest improvement I have made to my R1 boat. I have put this material in here around and then glued to the floor. So my foot can physically only go that far. And so it's the perfect distance, you know what I mean? You get to choose that. You know, you could even modify it where it's like, hey, maybe you get to choose, especially if this attachment up here is at a different length. All right, I'm going to take a step back because one of the commenters was like, hey, if you have an improvement and you could sell it, you know what I mean, that might be a good opportunity to make some money. But you know what I mean, like any new product is like so hard. But anyway, this product would be, I mean, just something that you could maybe do on your own. I am interested in making like cockpits that fit in here and then attach to these battens. One, your foot can never get caught underneath those surfaces. It could never go underneath anything because maybe you get rid of the thwarts and you just have a place in cockpit. So that's kind of what we're working on for our boat. I'm going to take a breath. Another YouTuber that kind of follows me, he was thinking about, well, doing the same thing, but just having a wrap of fabric that does its, contour, basically there and there. And you could even have it wrap up and maybe attach up here. So then physically still your feet can't, get anywhere. So that is kind of the simplest idea of using the existing thwarts, putting something in place to do what I'm doing, because I'm going to show you in a sec, but all of this has delaminated. And it's not, I think it's, urethane is really difficult to work with. I've gotten a lot of things to adhere okay, but these just never adhered very well at all. And I think it was because of the clamping, because I had to glue this and this at the same time, and potentially this is holding strong, but all of this is just gone. And now it's actually real dangerous. And so let me see if I can even show you potentially how, like the original boat, you'd get your foot all the way deep into there. Sorry for the noise, but like my foot is permanently caught. And my whole leg would be broken as if I flew over the handlebar sideways. Like right now, if I went sideways over this boat, my leg is literally broken. And so that's kind of the first improvement. I'm going to pull this out. And it's really difficult where I've even I wear oversized shoes. These are some of the river shoes I have, but I have them sized up in 3 different sizes based on the insulation. But I always go, just lower laced. I don't know if these aren't super low laced, but lower laced and kind of loose, just so, especially R1ing, if you ever get stuck, you should be able to pull your foot out of, I don't know if that's a thing. I just know that, hell yeah, that is a benefit. It might not save you in foot entrapments because people don't realize that your whole leg can get slotted, and it ain't just like, your shoe getting caught. That's a different ball game. But in your raft, it's literally the width of your shoe getting caught, and so it's worthwhile to be able to pull that out. All right, hell yeah. Yeah, and I can't even pull this thing out. It's just in there. And so that, especially sideways, man, that's crazy. All right, so that's the kind of the first improvement. And my boat is different. There's such a deep pocket in here. Let me get this. It goes so far underneath, but because the attachment is so far away, this is what has helped my floor stay put, because I think the attachment's far away, and then this outer tube kind of pushes up against there. It doesn't actually that much. I mean, there's such a gap between here. This last tube could be, almost double the diameter. And so, because one of the other commenters is really wants me to make these inflatable, and that, these I-beams are going to be your golden ticket for shaping the floor. Where it's attached, for sure, this tube is going to be your rocker tube. You know what I mean? So if you're neutral, you're going to be on this tube and this tube. Or you're going, and then, this one with your V-rocker, you're either going to be here or here in between those two contact points, or you're going to tip it onto that surface. And now this tube and that tube are going to be your two contact points. But yeah, this is just viciously deep. And this was just always one of the nastiest things with this boat that, and currently, like right now, like this can happen in my boat, so I have to be very cautious. And so and so we've covered a lot of cautionary things, but it's important because if I am reaching over here, like in this design, I really couldn't throw my foot up against anything. I just did this so my foot wouldn't go through, and I just learned to be okay with that. I could jam my foot up here, or I could just push it against the side and then have this one like right there. I was satisfied with that, or this heel going back. And again, same thing. Like I'm just glad my heel goes back, but my foot can only go that far. You know what I mean? The same in the front as in the back. And so for this design, you know what I mean, I want to be able to sit back in the boat because like right here, this is kind of where I'm sitting in the farthest back spot. And I still want to be able to hook my foot, under something. So this whole rail over here has to have a place where my foot can dive into, just like here, and permanently stop, and then just have, something bubbled up. And it only has to be that length. So I'm going to measure this. Like right here, this is nice. Like that is perfectly pocketed. This is okay, but it's, if you just have your toes in, I have barely anything. The second that goes to where the shoe's tongue is, hey, I'd be happy with that, especially those 2 points of contact. So that's for my R1 cockpit. That is what I want. I want to be able to, be here in my power position. I want to be able to drop a heel under this way. I want to be able to drop a heel back. And this, these thwarts are pretty cool. You know what I mean? I definitely like the feel of going underneath the thwart. The only thing that I want to modify, though, too, is the fact that you can go under this thwart, but now and I think we all use this pocket right here for our leg to dive under. So here's what I'm showing, is that this location right here and where my leg pivots are unrelated. And so I can get rid of all of this material. And so now we're talking about what the benefits of having a rigid cockpit. And what I mean by like rigid and dropped in cockpit is enough structure to give it structure, but all of this is foamed out. You know what I mean? Whether it's closed cell, like the mini cell foam NRS makes, you're jamming your foot and you're actually getting, you're getting this kind of soft feel, just like a thwart. Like a thwart is going to give at some point, and so that's useful. And I think mini cell foam, that closed cell foam, and sorry for talking over all the squeaks, can be even better, more beneficial, because it can be even softer. And so you could release, especially if I'm in a position like this and I'm going in a direction where my feet and my body don't, if it's harmful on the broken legs and stuff, reduce that. But hell yeah. So having this, being able to just drive the leg forward. Driving the leg forward is irrelevant to anything above this hinge. So you know what I mean? So anything above that height is irrelevant of where I drop this leg. And so even just right off the bat, if this is my paddling position, and my paddling position is hardly ever, up against this corner. And if it is up against this corner, this is the location that my foot is hitting. It's literally hitting none of this thwart. And so that was kind of what I was showing. Now in my raft, what's going to be the biggest bummer, or the fact that I have to put this in right away, is this sloped surface, because I am used to sitting in the normal cockpit and then having this is an 18-inch diameter tube, but the roundness of that tube usually feels the best, and I'm most solid with that. And the other element of R1 boating is that this leg right here, this becomes a flat surface. So when people, and I'm sorry I'm not showing myself, but when people are sitting in an R1, they're usually just, how are we looking? Awful. All right, so hell yeah. In an R1, you're typically, on your hip, and people think, oh, you're just leaning on your hip all day. Well, no, it's actually this leg goes flat. And so this, once you get used to it, like this flat part of your leg, I don't know if you can see it at all, becomes your platform. All right, so hell yeah. And just, what I notice is that this has a height. It can be flat up here, but then some sort of taper. And this rounded taper, as long as it's smooth, seems to work pretty good. And this is where you can have kind of like foam of different densities, because I noticed right away that this boat is underinflated, and I can really lay into this material like it's, like it kind of contours a little bit better. Okay, so I definitely have to design. So this video is kind of just like more for me. That's why I wanted to make it, because I'm going to work on the cockpit and I got to talk my way through this stuff. And I think it's useful for me to talk through it like I'm telling you also, because then I'm actually more thorough. Hell yeah. Yep, so I want the vacancy, like right where this is, I want this to be gone, and I literally want to be able to like drop my knee real low up against that front, so now all the weight is on the front. In my normal position, I want to come over here and do those things that I talked about. Just throw the foot in like it was directly like that. I'm going to get my shoe on. All right, hell yeah. So we're back, and over here, you know what I mean? This is going to be the farthest away. And so when I put my foot in, like I can reach to this corner. So in my normal position, I can reach there, and I can reach that far corner just fine. But this is about the limit. So that means that when I lean back into this 3/4 maybe paddled position way out here, I'm just reliant on this to kind of hold my foot in. And so just knowing that this is kind of my R1 position, as this foot goes here, then I need, and I don't have to mimic the sides, but if I'm on my left side, this is my power side. On this right side, I do need to be able to just quickly do that with my foot and have it snug in. And so I won't need much foam, just even like 2 inches out, but just solidly where I go in and then I feel that foam. And it can be kind of dual, well, I guess that is going to be the minimum width or height when I jam that in. So if I went this way, and that's probably pretty good, because if I went this way, it would have to be the same height. And this actually shows me that, but here's the deal, is there's just not much room here. And so what happens is like, hey, guess what? I'm not touching any of this surface. So this also, I'm so glad this is probably the most important part of the video for me. The surfaces that I'm touching are up here on this 18-inch diameter. They're going to be right here, and then they're going to be like right here where my leg is. And so even when I'm like fully, cranked at this ankle, nothing is touching below that mark. And as long as it's soft, I wouldn't realize, no sharp edges and stuff, but if there was a vacancy right there, I would be just fine. And that vacancy, just for using my hand, is more than a 4-finger, more than almost 5-finger width. And so that's what we're going to have. So over here, when I do that with my foot, yeah, hell yeah. Whatever the, might as well get a slight measurement. All right, hell yeah. So kind of right where this thing is, this little piece of whatever. And so that's going to be the height on that. I'm going to grab a tape measure. Yeah, so 4 inches. Okay, so hell yeah. So now we know what that is. So 4-inch compartment, and what I was talking about, this can be as deep as I want it to. Like even like right now, I feel like my foot, if I was going this way, could go, farther. And so that's cool. If I was this way, it's always harder. I can't reach there at all. I could reach there, and I would be fine if it went deep. And so, yeah, the depth of this is irrelevant. So the depth of this can be as deep as possible because I do want to be able to do this move with my foot right here. And so, break out the tape. And so this is, it's 6 inches. You know what I mean? And so that is kind of interesting, and it's helpful to me right now, knowing that I have a boat made out of cardboard, and I don't think I actually have enough design for this 6-inch compartment. I think I could put it on the offside, but then do something different over here. And so the cardboard boat that we're making is asymmetric, but hell yeah. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to do a 6-inch by 4-inch. Is that what we said? Yeah, so that's 4 inches. Hell yeah. And 6-inch depth. And that's it. And as long as it's just foam, then, you know what I mean? Even though it's fairly deep, you know, again, it's foam, and so you can release out of it. So that also means that you need probably 4 inches of foam above that. So it's going to be 4 inches tall, 4 inches foam above it, and then we're set. The surface that it lands into can be hard, as it doesn't really matter. It's just the foam above it. All right, I'm going to take a little pause. Whoops. All right, hell yeah. I'm going to try to, live and breathe these measurements because I kind of have to know them. So this from here to there, so from this flat surface to this surface is 21 inches plus, 6 on either side. And so that would be 21 plus 12. 21 plus 10 is 31, and another 2 is 33. So 33 inches. So that's the max. So 33 inches is the max that we need there on the ground level. We said that this needs to be a vacancy, so all of that can be kind of measured later. Now, from here, from this surface to this surface right here is 25. And at least over here, I need to go in a depth of 6. You know what I mean? So that's going to be 20, so 31 that way. And I think that's exactly what I have in the cardboard boat. I have 31. Now, but look at this, is that I was saying that even in my boat, I can reduce this width to here, because even in my boat, I was wondering if I could make it smaller, and how much width, could I make it smaller? And I was always looking at that one I-beam, is that even when I'm kind of in this back 3/4, I can still reach to this pocket, but I really can't reach there. And so I was thinking, and this is 6 inches, so that's what that can be reduced. And so now instead of 25 inches across, we're going to be 19 plus 6. And so that's from here to, 26 underneath, all the way underneath there. And so that I think, that's just 26. And then I would have another 4 inches over here, because I think I have a 30-inch width compartment in my cardboard boat. And so that's kind of helpful. All right, so we got it figured out. 21 from here to there plus 12 is 33. And then we have, this is 25, but we're going to reduce it 6. And that brings it to 19, and then I'm going to make this compartment 6. So right there is actually where my foot's going to be, and that's kind of cool because that's exactly where I want it to be. I want this to be right in there, but then this surface would actually be 6 inches out here. So you would be jamming it into a cavern, and I'm just noticing right now that if I had it 6 inches and my legs up like there, I would need that cavern just a little bit higher, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, in coming back over here, where does my leg actually hit? Well, you know what I mean? My leg actually hits probably right there. My leg hits at the 4-inch mark, and so we can't mess with that too much, but sure, you could bring that up to 6. You could have this cavity be, because you do need it kind of rounded. If I am driving in 6 inches and it's a 4-inch high cavity right here, I could have it a 6-inch high opening that tapers to a 4. You know what I mean? Even just a direct linear taper to a 4, and then when I get my foot in there, like this angle isn't going to be that big of a deal. Because where's 6? You know, we're saying this is gonna go 6 inches, and so there's 6 right there. Hard to see, but yes, I do have my angle. My ankle is tapered up, and it's tapered up to about 5 inches. So having an opening of 6 would be plenty, but that's what I want, because if I am jamming my foot in there and now I'm going over the handlebars that way, hopefully it just slides out. And that also shows that with a cockpit, you don't want to go in and then down. Like these always go in and down, and then it's hard to just slide out. And so that's where I think the smarts of this cockpit are. Even like right here, going in 6, I can usually always pull my foot out. I've never felt like my foot was getting stuck forward in this cockpit. I don't think. I'll have to think about that. Well, I guess if I fall out this way. And the other thing about this material is hella smooth. And so there is going to be like a perfect balance between when you get your foot in there, maybe have some sticky rubber at the very end, but then as you're pulling out, you know, just the fact that smoothly comes out, that's going to help when falling out in funky angles. All right, hell yeah. Cool. And then here it just shows that, hey, that's all I need is that taper. And I imagine this thickness is only the thickness of my shoe. It basically has the same shape of my shoe. So I'll use that. I'll come out to here and then just use the shoe as a platform to be like, hey, that's what it's got to look like. And then we're just good to go there. Yeah, the smooth surface, all that stuff will come later. I'm just first working on a cockpit that inserts, that has foamed out, and we have all these surfaces. Okay, so I think we have the dimensions. I think I'm done with this video. Hell yeah. Let's get a shot of that. Hell yeah. All right, thanks for joining me. Booyah.